All right, here we go. Recording in 3, 2, and 1.
So we're going to see how deep this rabbit hole goes with 155 Acid House.
Awesome. Can't wait. Welcome to episode 155 of Nerdery and Murdery.
Big 155. I'm Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Jeffrey with your Murdery. Welcome to another week of the highs and lows and the ups and downs, the good and the bad, and part 2 of an episode. Love having having these, or just too much information to put in one. And
Oh yeah.
so, kind of try to keep them to an hour or so. So we had to do a part 2 on this.
Yeah.
Um, I'm excited because towards Morad will be coming to town the end of this month. First time she'll see the house, so that's going to be awesome.
Nice.
But we're getting hot down here. We had our first 3 days of 100-degree weather. We hit 108 on Thursday.
Oh,
Brutal,
dude,
brutal.
we've been getting a lot of rain.
We haven't. We got like 5 minutes of it yesterday. I think it was yesterday morning for like 5 minutes, just spit. It was a lot of light, thunder and lightning, but just spitting rain. Um, and we golfed yesterday afternoon, and on hole 14, after 14 we just gave up. We quit. It was too hot. It was exhausting. It was tired. Don't know how many 18 holes we we can get in this kind of heat. It's pretty rough. So
Yeah, and you got months of this.
yeah, we got many, many months of this. We did add some USB fans to our golf cart, try to help out a little bit, get some, because when the wind's not moving, man, that is brutal.
Yeah, it's
Brutal.
108. Yeah.
Yeah, if we can get some of that Gulf breeze, that helps a little bit. But
Mm-hmm.
man, I'm not looking forward to this summer. It is going to be a brutal one.
Oh my God, July and August are going to be killers down there.
Yeah, yeah. So, but we can use the pool now. The pool's warm enough that we can get in it.
Nice.
Loki doesn't care. He's been getting in for months now.
You should jump right in.
Yeah, he'll jump in if we throw his ball in.
Yeah. I'm a swimming poodle.
Uh, he's funny because if the ball is close to the edge, he'll use his paw and he'll bat it out
Uh huh.
instead of jumping in, which is funny. We tell him he's cheating. And Thor's looking really good post surgery. His wound is finally starting to look better. I mean, when he first came home, that open wound was bigger than my hand.
Yeah,
It was
it was huge.
huge. It was
You
huge.
sent
And
us some.
now,
You sent us the pictures. It's like, God damn, that's big.
yeah, now it's smaller than my thumb.
Okay.
So really, really good. Yesterday was the first time after cleaning it that we didn't dress it with bandages. Let it stay open and see how that does.
Let it breathe a little bit.
Yeah, let it breathe, and we'll give it a day, see if we need to put the bandages back on. I know he's tired of wearing clothes,
Uh huh.
especially in this heat.
I
Because
want to
he's
be
got
naked.
he's got the gauze on, and we got surgical patches that we put on, and then put a bandage shirt on over that, and then another T-shirt on over that. Got a large T-shirt from Walmart and cut off the sleeves, and he wears that. And then we've got an ace bandage around that, so he's pretty hot. He's happy to be out of that for a while, I think. So he's funny too. I mean, he's such a good dog and so calm. Part of the treatment is I have to use this, I don't know, this medicine, this liquid medicine to clean the wound, and you basically put it on a paper towel and you hold it on the wound for 3 minutes, and
Hmm.
then you do water treatment for 10 minutes, and that's literally just I have a little sprayer hose and spray water on the wound for like 10 minutes, and he just stands there and takes it.
Oh wow.
Doesn't move, and just tell him to stay there, and he just stands there. I've never seen a dog just that calm that would handle just water being sprayed at him for 10 minutes. I
It's
just
because he's
spray it.
hot, man.
Yeah. I mean, I just spray it locally on that one spot and then dry him off, but he's just so funny just how well he takes it.
Yeah,
He's
it's like,
he's an
oh my God,
amazing
this is
dog.
so cool. This is
He's an
cooling me
amazing
off all
dog.
over.
So pretty wild. Anyway, so I'm ready for you to take over on the second part of our acid house. So take it away.
Hey, uh, this is another one of the bands that was part of that second summer of love. They're called the Beloved, and this tune is Hello. The Beloved are a British electronic music group best known for the singles Sweet Harmony, The Sun Rising, Hello, Your Love Takes Me Higher, and Satellite. They were originally a post punk new wave band formed in 1983. They underwent a change of direction in the late 80s to a house alternative dance sound that experienced chart success in the UK and elsewhere. According to a commonly known account of the group's formation, John Marsh placed an advertisement in Music Press in 1983, which read as follows: I am John Marsh, founding member of the Beloved. Should you too wish to do something gorgeous, meet me in exactly 3 years' time at exactly 11 a.m. at Diana's Diner or site thereof, Covent Garden, London, WC2. However, Marsh confirmed in 2017 that this was a story made up for a press release. Marsh first met Simon Waddington when he joined the band 12th of August as an additional guitarist. Within a few months, Marsh suggested they leave and start their own band, calling themselves The Journey Through. In 1983, they recruited bass player Timothy Harvard and began writing and rehearsing, occasionally playing live. With keyboard player Bill Anderson, Waddington was singer and principal songwriter. By early 1984, they were the Beloved. Waddington's still the frontman, but Marsh singing on several songs, and Havard and Marsh beginning to take over most of the songwriting. By the autumn, Marsh was the lead singer, still drumming on demos and in rehearsal. He waited outside the BBC Portland place one night and gave a demo tape to John Peel. Within 2 weeks, they had been booked for a session. Marsh's school friend Guy Gosden had played drums with them at a couple of gigs, and they persuaded him to join as a permanent member. Having barely rehearsed with the full band, and with two brand new songs out of four, they debuted as a four-piece on BBC Radio 1 on 8th of January 1985. Shortly after that, they kind of got into electronics. Again, they were inspired by the house wave that was going through the north of England, even though they were Londoners. And they combined that weird guitar sound with some of that electronics and kind of the breakdown beat, and they came out with Hello. Now, a lot of their stuff later on isn't really house. It's more electronic, post-punk, new wave stuff. But I think Hello, in my opinion, and you may not share this, fits in that groove. That 19 late 1980s, early 1990s, where guitar rock and electronic music kind of clashed in that acid house movement. I
Yeah,
love this song.
and it is a good song. I would sway this one more to electronica. It does dip into acid. I wouldn't put them as representative of acid house, but it definitely does dip into the genre, and it's a good song to listen to if you like this kind of music. Um, just know that me personally, I wouldn't really consider this acid house as much, and definitely not their later stuff.
No,
It's
God, no,
definitely.
no, their later stuff, absolutely not.
I was talking to Chelsea about this episode in between, and she didn't know the difference between electronic and acid house, and I said it's very, very, very different.
Very different. Very
And
different.
if you listen to the two different types, you can tell. But yeah, I mean this is a good song. I think it's an okay representation of acid house. I just don't know I would have put it on the list.
The next song is Divine Thing by the Soup Dragons. Again, Soup Dragons also one of those guitar bands that like Primal Scream and The Beloved, who were incorporating that stuff into their music, kind of like the Stone Roses did a little bit, um, with like Elephant Stone or Fool's Gold. They were a rock band, but they also like to do acid house music, and they could play that one tune for 20 minutes, with the DJ in the band and everything. Soup Dragons are kind of the same way. Most people know of the Soup Dragons from I'm Free. Um, I actually like this one better, just because I like the groove better. Plus, you could kind of sing along to the chorus, even though it's still kind of acid housey. The Soup Dragons are a Scottish alternative rock band from the late 80s and early 90s, named after a character in the 1970s children's television series Clangers, British show. The group is best known for its cover of the Rolling Stones song I'm Free, which was a top 5 hit in the UK in 1990, and Divine Thing, a top 40 hit in the United States in 1992. The Soup Dragons formed in Bellshill, a town near Motherwell, in 1985. The lineup was Sean Dixon, Jim McCullough, Ian Whitehall, and Sushi K. Dade. The original drummer Ross Sinclair left the group after the first album. This is our art to pursue a career in art, and was replaced by Paul Quinn. Most of their songs were written by Sean Dickinson. The Soup Dragons recorded their first demo tape, You Have To, after playing a few local gigs, and this was followed by the flexi disc single If You Were the Only Girl in the World. They signed to the
You have some
Subway
too.
organization.
The name of the song is You Have Some Too.
What?
The name of the song is You Have Some Too.
You have some too. Did I not say
Yes.
you have some too?
No.
TOO too.
Yes.
Um. Oh, and a flexi disc. So kids, flexi disc. Of course, you have the record. A magazine would have a basically plastic record in it that you could. It was wobbly. It was flexy, so you could ship it in a magazine. You would pull that out, pop it on your record player, and play it. Hence, flexi disc. Uh, they signed to the Subway organization in early 1986, and their first EP, "The Sun in the Sky," was a Buzz Cox inspired post punk song or album. The band's breakthrough came with their second single for Subway, Whole Wide World, which reached number 2 on the UK independent charts in '86. Dixon and McCullough also played in BMX Bandits at this time. The band was signed to former Wham co-managers Jazz Summers' label Raw TV, with further indie hits and minor UK singles chart hits, followed during '87 and '88. Over the course of 6 singles, the first 3 collected in 1986 on a US only compilation, Hang 10. They gradually developed a complex rock guitar sound, which culminated in their first album, This Is Our Art. But after This Is Our Art, they kind of got into that the sound that was going on up in, or they're from Scotland, down in Manchester at the time. This is mainly due to being they lost their drummer, and they bought a sampler. I think they actually got a Lynn 808. And experimented with sound that released the album Love God. The change can be attributed to the rise of the ecstasy-fueled acid house rave scene in the UK. In 1990, they released I'm Free, their most successful hit single in the UK, and an up-tempo cover of Rolling Stones song, and added toasting overdubs by reggae star Junior Reid, which reached number 5. The single later appeared on the soundtrack to the movie The World's End. I'm Free is also the outro of the movie Renfield by Nicolas Cage. But I'm going to talk about Divine Thing because you are an angel, baby. To me, this is I included it basically because I like it. I like it better than I'm Free. Not to say I'm Free is a bad song or I'm Free is not representative. What do you think about Divine Thing by the Soup Dragons?
I would have gone with I'm Free, just to give a good representation because it's a really good representation. Definitely listen to their later stuff, especially once you come out with Love God. That
Yeah,
is very very representative of the music. It give you a good view into that genre and how it goes. Before that, I think you're going to get really more punk, more indie.
yeah, they
Love
sound like Jesus and Mary Chain before that,
yeah,
before Love God.
Love God is definitely gonna be Acid House and stay with that. But you couldn't go wrong with I'm Free or Divine Thing. I think either one I think is a good
Yeah,
one.
yeah, and that Love God is album is the whole thing is good. If you've never heard it, you know, I remember picking up. I want to say I picked up Love God and Ned's Atomic Dustbin, that Ned's Atomic Dustbin album, like the same day. Oh my god! I don't think either one of those cars was in my either one of those albums cassettes was in my car in heavy rotation for like a month. It was either Love God or the Ned's Atomic Dustbin album. The one with Happy on it.
Hmm.
But yeah, oof, love those guys. The next one is Eon, The Spice Must Flow. It is Ian Loveday, better known as Eon. He was a British rave pioneer, born in 1954. Loveday was the son of violinist Alan Loveday and pianist Ruth Stanfield. His tracks made their way to early 90s pirate radio station in London and then out on vinyl through small labels like BAAD and Vinyl Solution. Uh, BAAD, oh my God, that is an imprint of 4AD, which we talked about in our exclusive number 19.
Mm-hmm.
He released Void Dweller with its dark and hard driving beats on Columbia Records in September of 92. It used samples from David Lynch's Dune, The Outer Limits, and themes from the horror movie Basket Case. His sound is a link between the early Detroit techno and contemporary dance music, and in the early 90s, this release was shared between DJs and musicians and was very influential. Eon was known for the acid techno song called Spice, which was released in November of 1990, right in the wheelhouse. Later in his career, he worked with Baby Ford and Bizarre Inc. and released singles on Trellick Records and Electronic Industries. Ian is no longer with us. He passed away in 2009. But yeah, we were talking about this, I think, specifically. I'm like, should I put The Spice Must Flow? It's like, yeah, you kind of need to. Spice Must Flow kind of needs to be in this list.
Yeah, this is hardcore acid. And
Yeah.
and and if those of you who go in and listen to this, if you're really enjoying the music, you're going to have a love or hate for this one.
Yeah.
And there's not going to be an in between. This is very representative of the genre. Um, but you're definitely going to have either love or hate for it because it is not only representative of the genre, it is hardcore of the genre.
Yes, it
Um,
is.
I like this song. It definitely has to be in the list. It's a good representation of it. 100% it goes in this list. But
Yeah.
like I said, you will not find someone with a middle ground on this one that goes,
No, no, you either love it or you
yeah,
hate it.
yeah. You won't go, it's okay. No,
Yeah,
you're
it's
gonna
all
love it or
right.
you're gonna hate it.
Yeah. I am of the former. I love this song. It doesn't hurt. It has, um, he who controls the spice controls the universe.
Right.
And then oh my God, and then he just breaks down. Yeah, this one's a fun one to dance to. The next one is Stereo MC's Connected. Now, this song was very, very popular. They were an English hip hop electronic dance group that formed in Clapham, London in 1985. They had an international top 20 hit with their single Connected, this one. And after releasing 8 albums for Island Records, K7, Graffiti Recordings, and Pius, they formed the label Connected with the band Terra Nova to release their own material and that of other artists within the house techno electronic genre. Rob Birch and Nick Hallman co founded the G Street Recording Studio and record label in 1985, along with John Barker and DJ Richie Rich. Part of the finance came from Birch and Hallman's joint recipe for 14 million pounds from a property developer on conditions they vacated their adjacent flats. With G Street attracted the attention of Fourth and Broadway, they recorded the debut Stereo MC's album 33, 45, 78 in 1989 on a shoestring budget with DJ Caesar. Drummer Owen, If and backed vocalist Kath Coffey joined the group for the Supernatural LP in 1990. Elevate My Mind was the first British hip hop single to reach the US Billboard R&B charts, having supported the Happy Mondays on a US tour. Happy Mondays also kind of in this conversation. In the emerging UK alternative dance scene, it took an alliance with the Jangle Brothers to ensure chart success for Supernatural remix work for U2 and Queen Latifah followed. The live band includes singers Andrea Badays and Veronica Davis, and they were one of the few hip hop outfits to play at rock music festivals. 1992's mainstream breakthrough Connected, a number 2 success in the UK album charts, contained the hit single Connected, Step It Up, Creation, and Ground Level, and won them the 1994 Brit Awards for Best Group and Best Album. Hallam and Birch then created the music publishing firm Spirit Songs, which signed Finley Quay. How do I explain Stereo MCs? Working class England. This song sounds like it was made by working class England. But This one's a jam. This one's groovy. Um, it's kind of one it will get stuck in your head. Maybe not necessarily the singing, but the and it has a nice slow build up. What do you think about Connected?
So, okay. I I think they are more electronic than Acid House. Let
Hmm.
me kind of stop and let me explain, just kind of because we really haven't explained this real well. The
Yes.
biggest difference between electronic and acid, electronic is very high tempo, intense, consistent, and it just goes and goes and goes. And like this song, you can have a build up to it, and then it's just going to go. It's going to take off, and it's going to grab you. Acid House is very trance like.
Hmm.
It's very repetitive. It can be high intense. It can have the build up, but in the end, very representative acid house is very trance-like music because that's what they were going for with these acid houses, especially with all the ecstasy flowing through there and everything, just to get everybody in this mood to be in this trance-like state and dance and party all night long.
All night
Yes.
long.
So that's where the big difference is, and that's where you can see the differences with them. Whereas they have some similar qualities in the instruments that they use and everything. Um, uh, Electronic is more to dance to and stay with the beat and have a good time. Acid music literally is trance. It
Yeah,
is to put you in a trance and just almost take you to a different level,
yeah.
I guess is a
It's
good
very
way to
yeah.
put it.
It's psychedelic. Electronic explosion.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
and you're supposed to do it all night
yes.
long. That's why that's why ecstasy was so important because it had that the drug itself has the ability to basically keep you up all night, keep you up, keep you moving, keep you happy all night.
Yeah,
Uh,
and that's why, like I said in the last episode, Little Louie's French Kiss probably should have hit this list, and I didn't think about putting them in here, but they do. That one is very representative about Acid House. It's that continual same beat and the music that's composed that is just over and over and over and over again to literally put you in this trance-like state. I'm sure the drugs help.
I don't think they hurt.
So yeah, so I see Stereo MC as more electronica. I do know that some do consider them acid house. I consider them more electronica.
More electronic.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, I would definitely say anything after connected. This is electronic music. It's not bad. I like it. It's fun.
And the thing is,
Um,
you will see some of these groups that cross over
oh
into
yeah, go back and
electronic
forth
and go back and
all the
forth.
time.
They will do both because they're very tightly connected, but they are different.
Hmm. The next song is "The Heat of the Night," "Acid" by Deposse.
The acid mix, yes.
Yes, you got Hula and K Fingers were core members. Maurice Johnson, which we talked about, Maurice was known as Maurice in Deposse. Craig Simpkins, Lamar Mahone, Martell, Maurice Joshua. I said Johnson. I meant Maurice Joshua. Sorry. Uh, Deposse. It's also the variations are D period A period posse, Ka posse, which is just Ka posse, and Da posse, not uh, with no periods. But it's basically the same band. Um, Again, they were also working with Future and some of these other guys when this music was just breaking. And the Heat of the Night Acid, this is one of those early Chicago mixes. Um, yeah, wow. Um,
It's their best representation of the genre. It's their
yes,
best acid track.
yeah, because a lot of their other stuff is more hip hop,
Yep.
but no, this one is yeah, it's pretty. It's on the nose.
If you want more from them, another to check out would be Searching Hard. That's another one that's probably a close
Mm.
second to this one.
Hmm.
But you can get some you can get some good representation for this. This is a good song, and it definitely acid house.
Yes. The next one is Charles B. Lack of Love. Again, this is another one of those early adopters from Chicago. Charles Bryant Cooper, or Charles B. hails from Chicago, is known as the Grave Digger due to his spiritual and religious background and his ability to sing in uh, descants. Well known in the gay scene, Charles B. wrote his own songs by singing them to musical accomplices like Adonis. Uh, Charles B. is real freaking underground. Um, but again, the lack of love, boy, you want to talk about some house jams. There you go. What do you think about old Charles B?
I know a lot of people think this one is really great. I'm not as big of a fan of this. I had this one in the list because it's very good representation
Yeah, it is.
of the genre. I'm just not a huge fan of this one. Th- this one goes way too underground for me. It
Yeah,
just
this is really underground.
yeah, this one is too much for me, but it fits on the list, and I put this one on the list.
Well,
Um,
and not only that, but you'll hear it if you go to a place that's playing basically house jams. You'll hear pieces of this song
yes,
in the mixes.
yes,
You know,
yes,
the
and that's
DJs
and
will
that's
mix that in.
and that's why I felt that this needed to be in the list.
Yeah,
I'm not a huge fan of this one, but it definitely needed to be in the list. And if you
yeah.
want to get into this music, give this one a listen.
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely. It's like the one we talked about earlier. Um, it's on the nose. On the nose. Um, yeah, like the posse, the heat of night. Um, pretty much there. That's it sums it up. The next one is a hit that everyone has heard. Uh, Technotronics, Pump Up the Jam. They were a Belgian electronic music project formed in '87 by Joe Bogert, or Bogaert, best known for the 1989 single "Pump Up the Jams," which features vocals by Ya Kid K. The song peaked at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the United States. Holy shit! Did it really go to number 2?
Hmm.
The single then was followed by the album of the same name, which was released the same year and peaked at number 10 on the Billboard 200. They achieved further success with the singles "Get Up Before the Night Is Over" and "Move This." Technotronics went on to release the album "Body to Body" in 1991 and "Recall" in 1995. Technotronics was formed in 1987 by Joe Bogart, gained popularity in Europe as a solo artist with various newbie projects, including Acts of Madmen, Nux Nemo, and Ya Kid K, who joined as a vocalist. Bogaert adopted the stage name Thomas DeQuincy, and in September 1989, they released the single Pump Up the Jams. Ya Kid K was initially uncredited with their contributions to the song. Front for the act was put together in a way similar to the Eurodance acts like Black Box and Milli Vanilli, utilizing Congolese-born fashion model Feli Kilingi, who was presented as the group's vocalist. She appeared on the single's cover art, which was credited as Technotronic featuring Feli, and also appeared in the music video for the song. The song became a worldwide success, eventually reaching number 2 on both the US Hot 100 and the UK singles charts in late '89 and early 1990. The success of the project's first single led to the release of the album Pump Up the Jam in late 1989, which featured vocalist Ya Kid K and MC Eric, but still featuring Feli Kilingi on the cover. The album peaked at number 10 on Billboard 200 in the US and reached number 2 in the UK album charts. Following the release of the album, Ya Kid K was revealed to be the main vocalist for the song, with Bogaert admitting Feli didn't have much to do with the record. Me, Eric, and Ya Kid did it all. We needed Feli to help promote the group at first to create this image. Um, so what's weird is if you watch the original Pump Up the Jam, the lady who's singing looks nothing like the lady who's singing in Move This because they're two different people. So if you want to go out and watch the video for Move This, that's actually Ya Kid K. That's not Kigeli. Um, Yakike, born Manuela Barbara Kamosi Mose Dijogi, is a Congolese Belgian hip hop recording artist. She was the rapper for the dance house act Technotronics, and her sister Caroline Lecky Kamosi. At the age of 11, Jogi moved to Belgium, later moving to Chicago, where she explored hip hop and the emerging sounds of house music, and later moved to Dallas, Texas, which is where she lives now. Yakike lives in Dallas. But yeah, she kind of went to Chicago and then went back to Belgium and brought this sound with her and tore it up. I love Technotronics. I actually like Move This better than Pump Up the Jams, but I thought Pump Up the Jams was more indicative. And I know people know this song. What do you think about Pump Up the Jam?
So I like this song as well. Um, I see this one as more electronica. And I think it kind of gets thrown into acid a little bit simply because it was Belgium. That it was or by someone from Belgium. Um, I I don't consider this as representative of acid. There's some pieces of it in there,
hmm
but this one is really more electronica.
Yeah, well, I would definitely say Move This is way more acid than Pump Up the Jam.
I need
You
to
know,
listen
you
to that
gotta
again.
move this, gotta move this, shake
No,
that body for
no, that's
me.
electronic. That's electronic.
You think so?
Yeah, for sure. Now that I'm thinking about that song, yeah. But like I said, this one dips its toes into acid, and it's a good song, but it's just not one I would have put on the list.
Right on. That's fair. The next one is The Time Lords by Doctor and the TARDIS. I love this song.
Yep.
The band is actually called the KLF.
Hmm.
They're also known as the Justified Ancients of Mumu, the Jams, and the Time Lords, and as well as several other names. They're a British electronic band who originated in Liverpool and London. And in the late 1980s, Scottish musician Bill Drummond, who we've spoken about before, alias King Boy D, and English musician Jimmy Cauty, alias Rockman Rock, began to release hip hop inspired and sample heavy recordings as the Jams. And as the Time Lords, they recorded a British #1 single, Doctor in the TARDIS, and documented the process of making a hit record in the book The Manual, How to Have a #1 that the easy way as the KLF. Drummond and Cauty pioneered stadium house, rave music with a pop rock production and sample crowd noise with their 1990 LP Chill Out in the ambient house genre. The KLF released a series of international hits on their own KLF Communications record label and became the biggest selling singles act in the world in 1990. Um, I love Bill Drummond and Jimmy Cauty. I think they're awesome. They'll put 50 people on stage to perform this stuff and just be out there in stupid outfits with guitars.
Hmm.
Bill Drummond's a big old weirdo. Love that dude. No one's weirder than Bill Drummond. um, but oh my god, the way they took Doctor Who and and acid housed it up. You get the Daleks in this song. You get you get the old theme tune from the 70s in this song, and it's still a house jam, and it jams.
Hmm. It's huge. And that's part of the what I talked about earlier. That's part of the trance of this
Yeah.
is when you get into the Doctor Who song. Throughout this song, it's not as representative of acid as some of their other stuff, but this is a
Yeah.
really good song. It's very enjoyable. I think you'll enjoy this. But dive into some of their other
Yeah.
stuff, and
Justified and Ancient with Tammy Wynette singing on it.
yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
god.
Yeah, listen to some of their other stuff too. This one is a good one. Um, but listen to some of their other stuff too if you want to
Yeah.
dive deeper into this music.
Yeah.
But this
And
this
if
is a
you want
great
to
one. I love this song.
look them up under KLF. You'll
Yeah,
get the other names of the band in that lookup. If
yeah.
you try to look up the Time Lords, it may not come up right.
If you look up
So
the
you
Time
definitely
Lords,
want to
you
try to look them up
basically
as KLF.
get Doctor in the TARDIS. You
Yeah.
gotta use KLF to really find the rest of their stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, this was a smooth ass groove. The
Yeah.
next one, and I think the last one in our list, I believe. Yep, that is correct. Is Messiah, Temple of Dreams. Messiah was a British techno acid house duo formed in London in 1988 by members Mark Davies and Ali Ghani, known for their heavy or Ghani, known for their heavy use of sampling, quotes from films, melodic female vocals, and aggressive synthesizer lines. Boy, they're not kidding. The group released two full-length albums and several singles during the 1990s. Two singles reached the top 20 in the UK singles charts. Temple of Dreams was released in 1992. Um, when they say aggressive synthesizer lines, they are not fucking around. This is aggressive.
Hmm.
Um, but it also, as Jeffrey said, it will put you in the trance.
Yes. And
Especially when you mix this with some of the poppier stuff, kind of bookend it in your little DJ quest, which is what a lot of DJs do. You dance all fucking night. And
yeah,
again,
and this is why I'm glad this one is in the list. Um, it's not put as high as some of the other ones, as some of the earlier acid and some of the late 80s acid, but this one is very, very acid house, very, very trance-like. I love this song. When I was going to clubs in the late 80s and early 90s, um, going later in the or a little bit more towards the 90s because this came out in 1992.
early 92.
Yeah,
Early
early
92.
92. Um, I heard this everywhere I went. This
Oh, yeah.
was this was a house hit and would always come out. And oh my God, this song, honestly, off drugs, I think will put you in a trance.
Yes.
It is very, very trance-like, very representative of the type of thing we're talking about with the acid house. Give this one a shot. I do love the fact that they sample from that terrible movie, The Running Man,
Mm-hmm.
in the song. I think that's
Yes,
really
they
cool that they
do.
do that. Um, which was funny because in 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 those days, those clubs were so packed, you couldn't ever get up to talk to a DJ, and I just wanted to know the name of that song, and it took a lot of research on the because I'm putting in, I'm putting in early search engines, uh, techno song with Richard Dawson in it, and trying to find it. And it took me a while to find this, and I've always had this in my playlist for many, many years. I love this song, and I think it's a great, great representation of the genre.
Yeah, I've heard several DJs mix this. They'll start with that, not the opening to pump up the volume, but the little musical breakdown right after the opening where they're not
Hmm.
singing.
Hmm.
Go into this and then go into Head Like a Hole. Dude, just thinking about it's just making me sweaty. People dancing, lights going out. People have got glow sticks in their hands, sucking on lollipops. Just bow, bow, bow. Yep, this stuff
Yeah,
is a lot of
in these in these dance clubs too. I mean, I'm too old. I don't know this shit anymore. But they had to in Texas, they had to stop serving liquor at 2 a.m.
fun. Hmm.
But these clubs stayed open till like 4.
Yep,
You would
they pull
because
all the liquor.
yeah, people wouldn't want to stop dancing, and of course
They
a lot of them are doing drugs and everything like that.
Yeah,
But yeah, they'd lock up the liquor. You couldn't get any
yeah.
more.
They pull these gates down over the bar. Now you could
But the
still get
party was still going, and people
Yeah,
wanted to
you could
stay.
still get they had places where they sold cigarettes
Yeah.
and candy and soda pops. There was another bar separate from there in a lot of these clubs.
Hmm.
They called it the hard bar, and it was because the people on ecstasy needed to drink stuff because it dries you out, and the sugar helped the high.
Right. Right. Yeah, and as we've talked about this too, you can enjoy this genre of music without being high. I was not
Me
high
either.
when I heard any of this stuff. I just enjoyed it. I love going to the clubs. I love the
Yeah,
atmosphere. I love the music,
yeah.
and the music would very much put me in a trance and make me want to party all night long.
All fucking night.
And I'm going to tell you, it was definitely not less than one time that I stayed there until 4 o'clock in the morning.
4 o'clock in the morning. Yep.
You know, because they were just it was just it was a great vibe, and the energy in those clubs, it was just amazing. Nobody cared how you danced, nobody cared what you danced to, nobody cared what you looked like. Everybody was there in their own little world, even little groups of people that were gathering together on the dance floor, and everybody was on the dance floor. You
Yes.
didn't go to those and not be on the dance floor.
No.
um it was just it was some amazing times, and very fond times from my young adulthood. I had a lot of fun in these clubs, and the acid house music had a big piece to do with that.
Yep.
So
It was amazing and still amazing. Get out there and listen to it, kids. It's a lot of fun. But that is it for Ep.155 for the nerdery portion.
awesome. Thank you for covering that in two parts, because it's really was too much to go into just one, because
Oh yeah.
it's such a lot of history that goes beyond that. And
Yeah. Well, I mean,
please,
originally you gave me a list, I had a list, and I tried to. I was like, well, I'll just trim off one from here, and I couldn't do it. I ended up
right.
trimming one song off,
Yeah.
and I was like, nope, we're just going with what we got.
Yeah. So give out there and give a listen to it. Let us know what you think about it. Would like to hear your thoughts on it, especially if you've never dove into this music. Please do, and let us know what you thought about it.
Yeah.
Good or bad, I'd love to know. So
Yeah.
awesome. With that, I will take over on the nerdery side of the house, murdery side of the house.
Murder.
Screwed that one up.
That's fine.
For today, I got my information off Medium, Wikipedia, The Guardian, Chronicle Live, and the Crime Wire. And this is the story of the child killer Mary Bell.
The child killer Mary
I'd
Bell.
never heard of this. I'm a little surprised on this one. So, one of Britain's youngest serial killers walks among us today, completely anonymous. She only served 11
Like a
years in.
Mardeep Sada.
Uh, yes,
Okay.
just like Amardeep Sada. Only Amardeep, I believe, was younger than Mary was, if I recall correctly. I'd have to go back, but she only served 11 years in jail for the brutal manslaughter of 4-year-old Martin Brown and 3-year-old Brian Howe. She was released at the age of 23, and no one will ever know her whereabouts. Who at the tender age of yeah, she was 11. I'm almost positive Amardeep was younger.
Yeah,
She
he
took
was.
the lives of two young boys. So we start off in the inner borough of Newcastle in the UK, in a place called Scotswood. The families that lived in the soon to be demolished houses were lower income families waiting to be rehoused by the council. And the children of those families, they were allowed to run free and play unsupervised from about 2 years old. The children often played in the abandoned homes and in the wasteland close to the railway line. It was a different time. Nobody suspected there was danger in their neighborhood. So on Saturday evening, on May 25th, 1968, 4-year-old Martin Brown went out to play with his friends in the abandoned homes, but his parents started to get worried when he didn't come home. Martin would often play outside with his friends and come home in the late afternoon for his tea, but he never made it back that day. One day after his disappearance, the local kids discovered Martin's body at one of the abandoned homes not far away from his home. June Richardson was mourning the death of her son, Martin, when she received an unnerving visit. There was a little girl at her door that she recognized as one of the children in the neighborhood as Mary Bell, and Mary Bell was on her doorstep, and she had a strange request. She asked to see June's son. So June was taken a little bit aback by this, and she told the girl that Mary couldn't see her son because her son had died. Mary responded, "Oh, I know he's dead. I want to see him in his coffin." 11-year-old kid. This wasn't the only strange event surrounding Martin Brown's death. Soon after his death, the local nursery school was vandalized, And when police arrived at the scene, they found a few eerie handwritten notes stating that Martin's death wasn't an accident. One said, "I murder so that I may come back," and another said, "We did murder Martin Brown." A lot of the circumstances surrounding his death were suspicious. The three boys who had initially found Martin in one of the abandoned homes were shortly joined by two girls who stumbled across the scene. The two girls were Mary Bell and her friend Norma Jean Bell, which they're not related despite their last name. The girls watched as a local tradesman performed CPR on Martin, but it didn't help, and the boy had sadly died. The police initially couldn't figure out what could have caused Martin's death because, other than the small amount of blood and foam around his mouth, his body displayed no other clues which could point to any one manner of death. However, police did find an empty pill bottle near his body and took that to mean he must have accidentally overdosed. The police told June Richardson that her son had died from ingesting pills, but later the coroner declared that Martin had not died from swallowing pills, but that his death but that his cause of death was suspicious, but he couldn't determine what the cause of death was. The local community was outraged from this, and they protested and pleaded with the council to demolish the dangerous abandoned buildings. And some local children even got involved with the protests, and one of these children was Mary Bell. Norma Jean joined her as well, and they carried placards and they marched. On the evening of July 31st, 1968, 3-year-old Brian Howe did not come home after a day out playing with his dog. When dinner rolled around, he still hadn't come home. His parents began to worry and called for neighbors to help them find their boy. The neighbors were all very happy to help, and even local children joined in. Mary and Norma Jean offered to help and joined in the search for Brian. And close to midnight, the search party found Brian's body in the wasteland, and the state of his body made it clear that he had been murdered. He had cuts all over his body. His neck was bruised from where it looked like someone had strangled him. In addition to the cuts and strangulation marks found on his neck, he also had superficial stab wounds on his thighs, cuts on his genitals, and a chunk of his hair had been cut off. However, the most chilling thing found was a mark on his body. The letter M was carved into his body. The strangulation marks baffled coroners. It seemed that the force exerted on Brian's neck was enough to kill him, but was not enough force to have been inflicted by an adult. And so their only reasonable conclusion was that another child had killed Brian. But that their thinking was, what child does this to another child? It clearly
Yeah.
wasn't an accident.
Yeah.
The police threw everything they had to the investigation. They went door to door asking people if they had any information that could give them a clue as to who had committed the crime. And by this point, they had also concluded and told June Richardson that her son Martin's death probably wasn't an accident after all and was likely connected to Brian's. They interviewed around 1,200 children, but it was their interviews with Mary Bell and Norma Jean Bell that had them curious. Not only were they displaying strange behaviors from the girls, but they noticed a severe lack of empathy from Mary Bell. And their stories that they told about their day didn't just sit quite right with the police. The girls admitted to playing with Brian, but claimed to have not seen him after lunch. And the details of Mary and Norma's account of that day kept changing. And then during one of their subsequent interviews, Mary told the police a story that would solve their entire case. Mary told investigators that on the day of Brian's murder, she saw him playing with one of the boys in the neighborhood. And while the boy and Brian were playing, Mary said she saw the boy hit Brian. She also claimed to have seen this boy holding a pair of damaged silver scissors. But after hearing this story, the police knew that Mary Bell, the 11-year-old girl, was probably their killer. Scissors matching this description were found near Brian's body, and the marks on his body were made using these scissors, but the details of those scissors was never released to the public. And she wasn't on the scene when they found him. So, how would Mary know about the scissors unless A, the story she was telling was true, or B, she was the killer? The problem was that Mary's story could not have been true because the boy she claimed to have been playing with Brian was at the airport at the day, so he had a solid alibi.
Yeah. Several people saw him.
Police interviewed Norma again on the 4th of August, 1968, and it was during this interview that Norma claimed that on the day of Brian's murder, Mary had taken Norma to see Brian's body. She said that Mary had told her how she enjoyed killing the boy, and she even showed her the razor she had used to carve the M in his belly. Norma took the police to the place where she said Mary had hidden the razor, and the police were able to locate it. And Norma later made a full statement admitting to actually being there during the murder. So, with the evidence against Mary beginning to pile up, the police made a connection between her and the handwritten notes found at the nursery school. After hearing about the suspicion against Mary, her school teacher, Mr. Foster, decided to go over her workbooks and check if she had written anything about the death of the boys. On the cover of one of her school books, she had written, "Boy found dead in old house." And within the book, she had also written further, "There were crowds of people besides an old house. I asked what was the matter. There had been a boy who just laid down and died." Beneath this, she drew a picture of the dead body of Martin Brown, and next to it, a bottle and a pill, which she labeled tablet, as well as a workman finding the body. And none of this information had been released to the public. So, again, how did she know the details so clearly? So, police interviewed Mary once more and let her know what Norma had said. Mary became extremely defensive, and she called Norma a liar, denying the whole thing. She finally admitted to being there when Brian was killed, but insisted that it was Norma who was the one who killed him. Unfortunately, the police didn't have definitive proof that Mary had murdered the boy, so they had to let her go. However, her freedom was short lived because when a detective saw the look on her face during Brian's funeral, he knew that he had to arrest the girl because he was afraid she'd do it again.
Wow.
After further questioning, the girl's story started to fall apart even more. Norma started cooperating with police, implicating Mary, and Mary Bell claimed she was there during Brian's murder, but tried to blame it on Norma. And finally, Norma and Mary were arrested on August 7th, 1968, which was the day of Brian's funeral. During a psych evaluation before their trial, it was determined that Norma was intellectually delayed and she had the mental capacity of an 8-year-old. Mary was found to suffer from a psychopathic personality disorder and was the mastermind of the crimes. The prosecutor told the court that the reason for Mary Bell's murders was, quote, solely for the pleasure and excitement of killing. At the trial, the prosecution presented their mountain of evidence. Norma's confession, the interviews with both girls, and the fibers found on both boys matched a dress that Mary owned. In the end, Mary was convicted of the manslaughter of both Martin and Brian and served 11 years in prison. However, she did not get a murder conviction because the jury believed that her psychopathic personality disorder diminished her culpability and that she couldn't be held fully accountable for her actions. Norma, meanwhile, was acquitted of all of her charges as she was deemed an unwilling accomplice who had fallen under a bad influence. Um, and it's just like Sardite. Um, it's hard to believe that a young child could commit the crimes. Was Mary predestined to be a killer, or did something happen that changed the course of her life forever? So let's dive into Mary's background. She was born on the 26th of May, 1957, and the first words Mary's mother said when she was handed her newborn baby were, quote, "Take that thing away from me." Mary's mother, Betty McCricket, was a 16-year-old sex worker married to Mary's stepfather, Billy Bell, who was a man who was known to be abusive and violent and a violent alcoholic. The identity of Mary's biological father is unknown. Betty would often disappear for days at a time, traveling to Glasgow for work, and leave Mary and her older sister with their stepfather. When Betty was home, she would abuse Mary horribly. Mary was also oddly accident prone. On one occasion, she, quote, fell from a window. Neighbors, however, claimed they witnessed Betty throw Mary out of the window, and this fall caused a head injury, which might explain her psychopathic tendencies.
Yeah, and
Abuse,
the
head
abuse.
injury. Another time, Betty claimed that Mary had, quote, accidentally overdosed on sleeping pills. However, it is now believed that Betty actually fed Mary these pills, trying to intentionally cause the overdose. The clumsiness was just a cover for all the times Betty physically abused her. Her mother was also known to have once sold Mary to a mentally unstable woman who was unable to have children of her own. Some attribute the accidents to Betty's determination to end her life, while others see apparent symptoms of Munchausen syndrome by proxy.
Oh wow.
Nevertheless, Betty enjoyed the sympathy and attention her daughter's accidents brought her. But honestly, probably the worst of her abuse was the sexual abuse that Mary suffered because of her mother. Her mother, being a sex worker, allegedly offered Mary to her clients when Mary was just 4 years old. Uh,
Jesus Christ.
Despite her negligence and abuse of her child, Betty refused repeated offers from her family to take custody of Mary because she is a dominatrix. She was alleged to have begun allowing and or encouraging several of her clients to sexually abuse and sadomasochistic sessions of Mary by the mid 1960s. The abuse at home that Mary faced was not the only trauma she experienced. She witnessed her best friend, who was only 5 years old at the time, get run over by a bus. So it's really, I mean, with her background, it's really no wonder Mary became violent and a threat to other children. And she had really been a threat long before she committed her first murder. Not long before she had killed Martin, a boy that she and Norma had been playing with fell from the top of an old air raid shelter. He was severely hurt and believed that one of the girls had pushed him. That same evening, the parents of three small girls contacted police to complain that both Mary and Norma had attempted to strangle their children as they played in a sand pit. Another time, Mary shoved sand down a girl's throat. Police were notified of the incidents and of Mary's violent nature, but due to their age, the girls were simply given a warning and no further action was taken. Again, once again, the police don't do something when they have there's
Yeah.
signs, there's signs, there's signs, there's signs. You
Repeated
got
signs.
to do
Well,
something.
I'll say this. Um, after the cop talked to her, I imagine some of this stuff came up. That's how come he was on her.
Maybe
You
it's
know what I mean?
possible. Violent outbursts were normal for Mary. Her schoolmates learned to be very careful around her, both at home and at school. Mary exhibited numerous signs of disturbed and unpredictable behavior, including sudden mood swings and chronic bedwetting, another sign that we've talked about
Mm-hmm.
before. She is known to have frequently fought with other children, both boys and girls, and to have attempted to strangle or suffocate her classmates or playmates on several occasions. And according to one classmate at DeLaval Road Junior School, by 1968, she and her peers had become accustomed to the sudden and marked changes in Mary's behavior. And when she began exhibiting distrustful mannerisms, including shaking her head and forming a steely gaze, her peers instinctively knew she was going to become violent, with the focus of her stare being the individual she was going to attack. You know, and and again, that's kind of where we talk about, everything could have been avoided if anyone had
Mm-hmm.
recognized these signs and given her some much needed help. Now, granted, this was in the 60s, so
Yeah.
it's I don't know. It's just I think someone should have seen this in her.
Yeah.
By
Could have saved those
19
two boys.
exactly,
Yeah, they'd
exactly.
have gone on to live full lives. They'd have been older than us now.
Right. By 1980, Mary Bell was released from prison as they were impressed with her treatment and rehabilitation. She was released on a license, which technically meant she was still serving time, but could do so while under strict probation.
Oh,
In
like
total,
parole here.
yeah.
Okay.
In total, she just served over 11 years in prison, making her 23 years old by the time she was released. Since her release from prison, Mary has given her account of her childhood and crimes to an author, Gita Sereni, who wrote her biography. Mary did receive money for telling her story. She gave birth to a daughter and managed to secure a court order that granted her and her daughter anonymity until her daughter turned 18. The court order was later amended to afford her lifelong anonymity and anonymity for her daughter and granddaughter, and she since lived under a series of pseudonyms. Her current whereabouts are unknown and remain protected by the 2003 High Court order. According to Gita Sereni, Bell does not claim she was wrongly convicted and freely admits the abuse she suffered as a child does not excuse her crimes. Um, regardless of of her psychopathic state or her psychological state, however you want to put that, 11 years doesn't seem long enough for killing two boys and ruining their whole family's lives.
Mm-hmm.
As you said earlier, Martin Brown and Brian Howe, they never got a chance to grow up and live
No,
their own
they'd have been
lives.
older than us.
No,
They'd be
they're
close to retirement in England by now.
yeah. I mean, their family suffered heartbreak, stress, really so much when they saw that Mary received protection and freedom. June Richardson, Martin's mother, she did say, "quote It's all about her and how she has to be protected. As victims, we are not given the same rights as killers." Um, and I do agree and sympathize with June. Um,
Mhm.
but on the other hand, Mary Bell was a sick, abused 11-year-old, and she needed
Yeah,
help. She needed psychiatric help. Um, it doesn't excuse Mary's actions, but her behavior wasn't normal. And it just takes incredible amounts of pain and abuse to make people act in such vicious and violent ways. You know, if she hadn't grown up if she had grown up in a safe and loving home, her life might have gone entirely different. She might
oh
not have
yeah,
gone through this. I do think her upbringing, everything that surrounded that, I think they turned her into a killer.
yeah. Well, I since we've been doing this, I always was always curious: is it nature or is it nurture? I don't think it's nature, man. I don't think that human beings are naturally shitty. I think human beings are naturally fairly loving. I
There
mean, yeah,
there
you'll
have
get a little bit of
been
spats, and
yeah.
yeah,
We
but I
have
think
had
it's all nurture.
we have had a couple of cases where it was nature that did it.
Mhm.
But yeah, nurture I think is the vast majority. I would say 95%
Yeah,
plus of the time it's the nurture or lack of good proper nurturing
yeah,
thereof that
yeah.
created these
It,
killers.
it, it it is the conditions of nurturing, or in a few cases, I think it's been head trauma,
Yeah,
blunt force trauma to the head.
yeah, that's done it too. Um, so I don't know. If you want to see some interesting stuff on this, the BBC broadcast an episode focusing on Mary Bell as part of their 1998 series Children of Crime. This was narrated by Jim Carter, and it's a 40-minute episode that features interviews with several of Bell's childhood peers, in addition to police officers that were assigned the case. This episode originally aired in April of 1998, and
I
then
think it's on BritBox too.
it may
That
be,
series.
it may
Yeah.
be. And then Investigation Discovery, which I love their stuff. Their channel commissioned a documentary focusing on the killings committed by Mary Bell as part of their documentary series Deadly Women. It was a 45-minute documentary titled Young Blood and was first broadcast on August 20th, 2009. So check those out if you'd like to see more on this because I found this case fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
It's really fascinating. Thank
But
you,
that's the
sir.
story of the child killer Mary Bell.
Thank you for that. That was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, just wild. Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely wild.
that
So,
was a wild ride.
thank you for that. And that takes us to the end of yet another recording week. We appreciate everybody for staying tuned and listening to you. We appreciate all of you out there. You can find more information about us on our website, nerderymurdery.com. That's our hub for everything that we talk about. We've got links and we've got pictures from the from everything we talked about today. Um, to give you, might give you a little more insight or more that you can read up on what we've talked about. You also find the link there to our YouTube page, which Zig so often updates.
Please go to the YouTube page and listen to some of this music. You are really going to dig the crap out of most of it. It's really awesome.
Yeah, I think y'all will too. So give that a listen. You can also find the link to our merchandise page, or if you wish to show off your nerdery and murdery fandom, please do consider purchasing something from our store. that along with our Patreon, our patrons do help with the costs that go along with the show. Our patrons are great, and just as an FYI, they do get special episodes that are available only to our patrons. So
Only to them.
if you're needing some extra nerdery murdery, as we record this, we've got 19 of those sitting out there. So that's 19 extra episodes for you if you want to get out there and listen. We do those call those the the donations that come from our patrons as well as what comes from the merchandise go to help us keep us on the air. There are
Yeah.
costs associated with keeping these shows uploaded, our website, our domain, everything like that. So please do consider that. We appreciate each and every one of you.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. Last but not least, please don't forget to leave a 5-star review wherever you can. That is completely free and it helps others find our content that may be looking for the topics we discuss. So, with that,
I have been Zig with your nerdery.
and I'm Jeffrey with your murdering.
Cue the music.
There you go.